So now let's look at some special types of polar graphs. We could have a circle. These come from just like a cos or a sine. If it's cosine, it will go to the right. If a is positive, that is, it'll go to the right. If a is negative, the number in front, it will go to the left. Sine. If a is positive, up. If it's negative, down. It's a circle. If I have a plus or minus b cosine or a plus or minus b sine, where a and b are both positive, it's this curve called a limacon. Okay? That's when you have a and b where they're both positive values. Now, if a is less than b, you have this little loop. If a is equal to b, you see there's no loop. This is actually a cardioid because there's no loop. Limacon specifically would be have an inner loop. You could have a dimpled. That's if b is less than a, but a is less than 2b. And then here, if a is greater than 2b, call it convex. It just almost looks like a weird-looking circle. Okay. There's also roses, which you saw. This is just a cosine and a number times theta, or a sine with a number times theta. Okay? If n is odd, it'll always have that many petals. So like this says 3, it's 3 petals. If it's even, it'll be 2 times that number. So if n is 4, it'll have 8 petals. So that's kind of how those roses work. Sines, they typically say the symmetry is with pi over 2. If it's cosine, typically we'll say it's on the polar axis. Now, we have these other ones, lemniscates, here. That's just, it looks like a sideways 8, and then the spiral of Archimedes will look like this. Okay? So these are different types of curves. Identify and graph classic curves. So if I first identify this graph, I have it graphed here for you. This would be the lemniscates. That's how you read this. Lemnicates, actually, I think that's how you say it. Lemnicates. That would be this graph. All right, let's try another one. If you saw this type of graph, I'm going to not go as far so you can't see the answer. It's the spiral. So this would be the spiral of Archimedes. That's what that graph would be. Now I'll let you graph this one and see what it turns out to be. This here is our graph. It looks like it'd be a rose, and not only that, if you ask for the symmetry, because it's a cosine here, we would say its symmetry is with the polar axis. It's an even number, which means the petals should be double. It should be about 12 petals. You could count them out to make sure.